Fantasy Show, and this week, me and Jack's teams are actually playing each other, so stick around and see what we have to say about that matchup.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. He posting like Kobe Bryant, he flying to see the pilot. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jet skis. This is Pass the Rock, don't stop the shot clock. Pass the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the rock.
Still a lack of a lyric for us in that intro. We were promised it, and as workers, we demand the right to have a lyric in that song. But regardless of that, Jack, how are you doing?
I mean, I feel like they're teasing us at this point, right? It's getting to the point that it's a little bit ridiculous. Spencer, I'm calling you out. Get us in there. Pass the rapper. Zach and I deserve our line.
If my face, with no facial hair whatsoever, is going to continuously appear in that video every single time, I want my do-uppins. I want to be.
Hey,
I want to have a lyric.
You're lucky you get a face in there. I don't
Yeah,
even
I
get a
know.
face.
I'm lucky. Yeah, you don't have any representation in that. You have nothing.
No.
They're really doing you dirty, but maybe you didn't get done dirty in fantasy this week. So how'd you do this week in fantasy?
It was pretty solid. I went 2-1 this week. I feel like that's been my MO every week. I drop one league, win two. And one of the leagues I won was my big money league where I had both Cooper Kupp and AJ Brown on a bye. So I'll take it. It was a solid week.
That's great. I had a horrible week in fantasy. I went 1-4 in my 5 leagues. Bad luck, just playing good teams. Players were getting hurt. Players were getting way away from expectations.
Yeah.
The one that really stuck out was I lost by 50 in my money league because the guy I was playing is now 7-0.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I was playing a juggernaut of a team, and Amon-Ra St. Brown got out with a concussion. So, he walked off the field with 1.4 points, and then CeeDee Lamb did nothing to help help the team. He did 10 points, and it's like, well, thanks, guys. Look, let me just look at my bench. I have like 3 15-point scores that I could have put in for you guys. So that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Not my week, but it happens sometimes. We move forward, we move on, and now something new has happened today in the NFL. We have some breaking news. My Philadelphia Eagles traded for Bears defensive lineman Robert Quinn, only for a 4th-round pick. Jack, I'm the biased Eagles fan. I'll get into it myself, but Jack, as an outsider of this deal, what did you think of it right away?
Well, I mean, first of all, I gotta say that breaking news clip, my favorite thing we have the capability to do on this show. But honestly, it was a really good move for the Eagles and for the Bears. I'm happy with it for both sides. If I'm a Bears fan, it's sort of what you expected, right? You should be selling off your veterans. You're a rebuilding team, and I think a 4th-round pick is probably fair value for Robert Quinn. And if you're an Eagles fan, you're ecstatic. I mean, why not just add another piece to this defense that's already been a top 3 defense in the league this year? You just add another weapon in the pass, which I believe Robert Quinn's been super productive over the last couple of years. I think I read he has 18.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons, which is like unbelievable.
That was last year.
Oh,
that was only last year.
It was only last year. Even better. That's unbelievable. It's a great trade if you're an Eagles fan. You're super excited, and the rich get richer. The defense is getting even better.
As an Eagles fan, this is clearly for depth, for injury replacement, because I'm pretty sure it's Derek Barnett who's out for the season with an ACL tear or something. Just reinforcing the trenches, and this is a system that Quinn, we run a very similar scheme to what Quinn was doing last year when he got 18.5 sacks. So far, I looked at Robert Quinn's stats, unproductive season so far in Chicago, but maybe he turns things around. As long as he does a little bit better than he is doing currently with the Bears, I think the Eagles win this trade. And this reminds me a lot of, I'll never forget in 2017 during the Super Bowl season before playoffs, had to be around week 8, 9 at this time too. Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, traded a 4th-round pick again for Jay Ajayi, who made some key plays for the Eagles down the stretch during that run. So shades of that deal coming around again just 5 years later. So
yeah, look, when you look around you
yeah.
and you see these other teams with winning records like the Jets and the 49ers making these big moves to elevate themselves as contenders, I think if you're an Eagles fan, you feel good about your team. At least you feel better
Mhm.
about your team when you see your GM also going out there and making those moves. It's the teams that are sort of sitting there watching this happen that are feeling a little shaky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm confident that not only, I'm happy that this deal was made. I'm confident that probably not the last deal the Eagles made before the trade deadline. I just have a feeling that Howe's going all in. He's going to try to do one more little thing. I don't know what it's going to be, but I can totally see him making some kind of move or they do some kind of signing because it seems like the Eagles are all in. And we'll talk more about the Eagles a little bit later on the show. But before we do that, first we have to go through our waiver wire recommendations. Some very interesting names on our board here. Actually, all running backs. We've only recommended running backs this week. So, Jack, who is your first running back you want to talk about?
And which, by the way, is such an improvement from last week where we did
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
Last week we did nothing but complain about how weak the waiver wire was, and here we are this week where we've got 4 good running back pickups for you. My first guy here is Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. It was announced right before the game last week that he was going to be the RB1 for the Chiefs, and they played him like it. I mean, he out-carried Clyde Edwards-Helaire 8-6. He had more yards than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Edwards-Helaire did end up getting a touchdown, which made his fantasy numbers a little bit better. But I think going forward, this leans more and more towards Isaiah Pacheco. He's younger. He's more of a bruiser. He's got that quick first step also. I think this leans more in Pacheco's direction. And he's only 26.7% rostered right now. So I think he's absolutely worth a stash. He's available in about 3/4 of leagues. If he's on your wire, he's worth a roster in this offense.
I like that. It kind of reminds me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a post-hype sleeper for the past, 1.5 fantasy seasons at this point. Hasn't exactly panned out completely. I mean, he'd have a good game every now and then, but never never the solid RB2 he was supposed to be. Hopefully Pacheco gets to that potential, especially with the Chiefs offense now actually spreading the ball out more. But you said we have 4 running backs. We actually have 5 because I'm recommending that you pick up either Carolina Panthers running back that should be available in your league right now. If you can get one of them, either of them, it's a very good stash. You have Deonta Foreman, who was basically the RB1, and also Chuba Hubbard, who, remember last season, he was a guy you get late in the season for a few cheap points. But they both had really big days against Tampa Bay. Foreman had 16.5 points, and Hubbard had 15.3 points. They're at one of them. Pick up one of them. Don't pick up both because that's just kind of a waste of spots. But if you get Foreman or Hubbard, pick up the better one of them. Absolutely, put them on your bench and wait for them to have consistent production. I would not start them right now. I don't think that we haven't seen enough from either of them to be like, hey, plug and play. They're your flex option this week. Absolutely not. But if they maintain around 14 points a game for the next 2 weeks, then you're going to want to start them. Then you're going to then they're like potential RB2 picks.
Yeah.
So this
completely makes sense.
This is definitely not the same level as Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is still the best for fantasy out of these 3 guys right now. Right. But if the production continues, these 2 guys could be league winners, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean Deonta Foreman especially. This is a guy that we've seen have production. I remember. Can't remember if it was 2 years ago or a year ago. I don't know. Somewhat recently, Deonta Foreman was on the Titans, and Derrick Henry was hurt for a significant period of time. And Foreman stepped up as the guy who took over for those carries, and he was an RB2 during that stretch. So he's proven that he's able to do it. I think the rest of the season he could be an RB2 caliber player.
Yeah, and I'm definitely higher on Foreman. Of course, he outscored Hubbard this week, but both were really close. I mean, that's literally a 1.2 point difference between them.
Right.
If I had to pick one, I'm going Foreman every time, but it doesn't hurt to pick up Hubbard, especially when you have that one guy on your bench who's you look at the player and you're just like, I could drop them and be okay. I'm sure you have that player where you're looking at them and you're like, I could drop them need be. So
Yep.
this is the time. Drop that player, pick up a Carolina Panthers running back, and just wait. Hopefully it pans out. If it doesn't, low risk, high reward. It's kind of the mindset going here.
Yep.
Anyways, you have yet another running back you want to talk about.
Yep.
And this one, I'm a little surprised with this one. I'm looking at the name.
Yeah.
I'm interested. All right. Tell me about him.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a weird one. It's a super sleeper. His name is Kyren Williams, and I'm sure a lot of you probably haven't heard of him, but he's
Who?
yes, exactly.
Who?
Going into the
I
season,
haven't heard of him, to be honest.
Going into the season, he was the third string running back on the Rams depth chart. He was a rookie out of Notre Dame. Very solid. Got hurt in the preseason. He's been on IR the entire season, and he's supposed to be coming back, I believe, either this week or next week. And with the recent what's come about with Cam Akers, that I mean, he's not going to play another snap for the Rams this season. I think Kyren Williams is going to have some value. I mean, Darrell Henderson has not been that great. He's also shown in the past, Darrell Henderson, that he's been injury prone in years past. If he goes down, Kyren Williams is going to be the RB1 in a really productive offense. And I think he could have some real value. I think he might even, with Darrell Henderson, have some value, as he might be the first second down running between the tackles guy, and they use Darrell Henderson in his more traditional passing downs role. I think Kyren Williams is definitely worth a stash. He's only rostered in 9.6% of leagues, which means it's very likely that he'll be sitting there on your waiver wire. I think he's absolutely worth a stash. And even out this week, maybe you can stick him on your IR. But I think he's definitely worth a roster.
Yeah, I mean, very intriguing prospect. Personally, though, I don't have a good history of Notre Dame running backs, because the only athlete from my high school to have made it pro went to Notre Dame. Josh Adams, former Eagles and Jets running back. You've heard the name.
Yeah,
so it was the whole story. Hometown guy. He went to my high school, and was absolutely trash. Honestly, he wasn't that good. So I don't have a good history with Notre Dame running backs. But hey, maybe this one can prove me wrong. But speaking of players who are coming back from injury, my final running back that I am recommending is Gus Edwards. And Gus Edwards, if you remember, he was injured with the ACL tear last year. Everyone was like, my team is ruined because I drafted in July. Like, of course it was going to be ruined. You drafted in July. But regardless, right now he was on 43.7% of rosters. He was added by 38.6% this past week. So people really want him back. He returned from his ACL injury last week, and he shined. 66 yards, not a lot, but 2 touchdowns made up, and got him 18.6 points last week. He's the Ravens' #1 running back. And the next 4 weeks, he's not playing any really good defenses. He's playing Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Carolina, and Jacksonville. None of those defenses are top 10 in my opinion right now, especially not for stopping the run. So if you do have a free up bench spot that, it isn't being taken by a Carolina Panthers running back, like I already mentioned, pick up Gus. Get Gus. He's another guy, RB2 upside. Worst comes to worst, he comes back down to earth from this 18 points. No, honestly, totally worth the spot. Totally worth it.
No, absolutely worth a spot, and he's probably, honestly, might be worth a start. I mean, if he's going to be the RB1 for the next 4 to 6 weeks while J.K. Dobbins is out, I think he might be worth a start. I mean, pre his ACL tear, he was awesome, and he looked to be just as good this week. I think if he's going to keep performing like that, maybe you keep him on the bench for one more week. But next week, I think we got to start having a mentor bench conversation around Gus Edwards.
We might. I mean, we'll see how it goes this week. Again, I think he's playing Tampa Bay this week. I'm pretty sure they're playing Tampa Bay this week.
Yeah, so Thursday Night Football.
Well, Tampa Bay just got exposed by the Panthers. Thursday night's a lot more interesting now, so I'm excited for Thursday Night Football. I'm excited, actually. Very weird that I'm saying that, but I'm looking forward to Thursday Night Football.
Yeah,
very
should be fun. Ravens Bucks.
So weird. I'm actually looking forward to this. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a new feeling. I kind of like it though.
What I should be looking forward to right now, though, is our bench segment. We have some very very high profile names you put on Mentor Bench this week. So, Jack, why don't you introduce contestant number 1 of Mentor Bench?
Yeah. Contestant number 1 in his second week back from injury, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, is playing the Chicago Bears at home. He's projected 15.2 points. Had a bit of a weaker week coming back off his injury, but he's getting reacclimated. He's got a nice, easy defense this week. What are your thoughts on Dak Prescott this week?
I'm probably going the over on this one. I feel like, now that Dak's back, expectations are certainly higher for the Cowboys. They should be good under the Dak Prescott, and I think they will be good under Dak Prescott because that offense should not fail under Dak Prescott. Chicago's defense, as we already know, not a very good unit, even though they balled out against the Patriots. Doesn't really tell me anything. They were flipping between quarterbacks then. You actually have a good, stable quarterback that should be able to produce. CeeDee Lamb should have a bounce back week because of that. So I am looking forward to Dak hitting the over quite comfortably.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. He's got a bit of a cupcake matchup this week with the Bears, although their defense has been better than expected this year.
It has been better. It has been better.
Matt Eberflus has done a great job making this defense into a competent unit, but competent shouldn't be good enough for this Dallas Cowboys offense. With Dak getting healthier, getting back into the swing of things, he should hit the over on this. And if not, we're going to actually have some serious concern about I don't know, maybe you go back to Cooper Rush. I think if he doesn't hit the over this week against the Bears defense, you start to think about it a little bit. But I think he shouldn't have a problem.
If Dak doesn't hit the over on this, if Dak struggles against the Bears, we might actually have another QB controversy in the NFL.
We might.
And I am absolutely here for it. If there's one take I want to be wrong this week, it is this one, because that would be absolutely hilarious for me as an Eagles fan.
Hey, you know what? We both picked it, so we might have jinxed it.
We might have. Hey, we really jinxed. This podcast, both shows, we're notorious for jinxing everything. To be fair, our worst jinx is Monday Night Football predictions.
But every week.
Absolutely. We always jinx it.
Oh, man,
we're going to plan out actually having different opinions. But hey, maybe Monday Night Football will actually be good this time. So we'll see.
Who knows?
Moving on, we have Darren Waller of the Oakland Raiders visiting New Orleans, projected a flat 10 points per game. Jack, what are your thoughts on Mr. Darren Waller?
God, he's tough. He's really tough because, if you drafted Darren Waller in fantasy football this year, you're expecting him to be a tight end 1. You're expecting him to be the guy. And he has not been that this year. He was out this past week. He had a bye the week before. Before that, he had 2 5-point games. He just has not been ideal. But it seems like he's healthy this week. It seems like he's going to get on the field. And when you have Darren Waller on your fantasy team, it's hard to bench him because you know what he can be. We've seen him at his peak, and he's going up against the New Orleans defense that has not been at their best. They just gave up 42 points to the Cardinals this past week. I'm going to cautiously say mensch on Darren Waller. It's tough because he hasn't given you the track record this season to do that, but I'm going to go based on what we've seen in the past, the fact that it's a weaker defense, and I'm going to mensch Darren Waller.
This is easily the hardest mentor bench we have on here. I feel like the others, we have our opinions pretty set up right now. I could truly go either way for this.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. I'm going to go with the bench.
Ooh.
Not really a lot of confidence right now coming off of 2 5-point games in a week that he was out. We're not sure if he's fully healthy. Derek Carr has not been impressive this year, but Josh Jacobs has, and I feel like he's going to continue to get a lot of production. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Darren Waller hasn't shown that he's a tight end 1 right now. There's better options you can probably even find on the waiver wire at this point. Again, like I mentioned a few weeks prior, Will Dissly is probably on most of your waivers still. And he's probably going to outscore him at this point just because of how he's being used. So I'm going to say bench. This Raiders offense is not consistently getting him the ball. Under 10 points seems like a pretty safe bet, actually, going into this. And while New Orleans defense isn't anything special, they're not bottom of the barrel. They can defend. So look for Josh Jacobs instead of Darren Waller.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. This one we put on here for a specific reason. You'll know as soon as you say the
Yep.
name. Michael Pittman of the Colts going against the Washington Commanders, projected 12.2 points per game. He's on here not because of Michael Pittman, but because of Sam Ehlinger. Jack, do you trust him? Do you trust Sam Ehlinger going forward and getting Michael Pittman over to bench him? Or you're not really feeling it?
Look, I don't trust Sam Ehlinger, that's for sure. But I do trust Michael Pittman. And Michael Pittman has shown over the course of his career that no matter who's at quarterback, he can produce. I mean, the guy's had Phillip Rivers, the guy's had Carson Wentz, he's had Matt Ryan, who's looked horrible this year, and now he's about to have Sam Ehlinger, who's the fourth guy, probably the worst out of all of them. But he's been through all sorts of quarterback turmoil and still put up numbers. And if there's any way for him to ease into a new quarterback, it's against this Washington defense and this Washington secondary that really has not been good this year. I mean, the strength of their defense has been the run defense. I'm not a big fan of this Washington pass rush. He's only projected, 12 points this week? I think it's with this matchup. Yeah, with this matchup, I don't even think it matters who the quarterback is. I think the talent prevails, and I'm going to bench Michael Pittman.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, you went back, you listed off the quarterbacks that Michael Pittman's had so far. All right, Phillip Rivers, proven veteran leader, wasn't horrible in Indianapolis. Wentz, while he was pretty bad in Indianapolis, still was able to get Pittman the ball. We still knew Wentz what he could do. And Matt Ryan, while he's looked horrible, again, we know what he's about. We have no idea about Sam Ehlinger right now, and I don't trust him. Any quarterback who says live on TV that Texas is back, I cannot trust.
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
I am a big horns down guy, okay? Big horns down guy, all right? So Sam Ehlinger could be the next Colts. He could be the Colts' next guy. He could very well be their next franchise guy. Who knows? We'll see how he balls out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to do well. Washington's defense, while not good, again, not like bottom of the barrel. They can actually defend. And this is he's being thrown into the fire against an NFL level defense here. All right. Expect him to throw 2 picks. I don't trust Sam Ehlinger. I don't trust him to get the ball to Michael Pittman. So for me, this is actually an easy bench.
I don't think there's anywhere else to go with the ball. I think if you're putting the ball in Sam Ehlinger's
Taylor, hand it off to him.
Maybe he'll have a good obviously, but eventually, I mean, the Commanders, like I said, the strength of their defense is the run defense. And
Chase Young's still out.
You're going to stack the box against Jonathan Taylor if you're the Commanders.
Okay, fair, but what I'm trying to say is though, right? Colts don't even have an offensive line really, but with what little they have, Jonathan Taylor with his ability, he should be able to get a decent game going, I think. I mean,
yeah, but they're not going to run the ball consistently. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they go down this game with Sam Ehlinger and then they have to throw the ball. I really think that Michael Pittman, he's going to get his targets. It's whether or not Sam Ehlinger can get the ball to him.
Yeah.
But Michael Pittman's the kind of receiver that he can go out, make those jump ball plays, haul in those receptions. I think if there's anyone that can thrive with a bad quarterback, it's Michael Pittman.
That's fair. I just don't think I just think that Ehlinger's worse than you're making him out to be. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that may be. That may be, but I'm betting on Pittman's talent.
That's fair. Look, you're betting on Pittman's talent. I'm betting on Ehlinger's lack of experience. And I think that Nick Foles is going to be starting for them in a week or two. So we'll see how it goes.
Pittman again.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, with Nick Foles, I'm mentioning every time.
Oh, my God. Gotta love the Phillies.
But speaking of Eagles that I'm a bit of a fan for, we're former Eagles in Nick Foles' case. We're talking about Miles Sanders as our final mensch or bench, playing against your Pittsburgh Steelers, projected 14.1 points. Jack, what do you think is going to happen?
Come on, you know where I'm going with this one, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be the
under. Well, you know where I'm going with this because it's obviously an over.
And I just realized we're on bench or bench. It's going to be a bench.
We're not even doing over.
I know. I'm skipping ahead. I'm sorry.
You're skipping ahead.
You're throwing me off. I'm benching Miles Sanders against the Steelers, and here is why. I think that this is the kind of game where the Eagles are going to see the weakness in the Steelers secondary and just absolutely exploit it. I think Jalen Hurts slings the ball. I think A.J. Brown is a big game. I think Devontae Smith has a big game. I think Dallas Goedert has a good opportunity to have a big game. But running the ball, I think they stay away from it if they can, because that's where the Steelers will actually be able to get some stops with Cam Hayward up the middle, with why am I completely Larry Ogunjobi? I don't know why I completely blanked on his name for a second, but he's had a good season up the middle. I just think that the advantage for the Eagles in this game will be throwing the ball, and they're going to stay away from Sanders as much as they can. Obviously, they'll get the ball some, but I think I have to keep him on the bench this week. I don't think he gets over his 14-point projection. And I mean, he's been super inconsistent this year. He's coming off a decent week last week. I just think he's due for another stinker.
You know what? You say that. I think you're forgetting. Look, your defensive line, right? Cam Hayward and the other guy that I really don't know. I've never heard his name before today. I don't know his name, but your defensive line is solid. The Eagles' offensive line is the best in the league. Yeah. It is the number one offensive line in the league, and there is barely any debate about that. All right.
And Miles Sanders still can't produce half the time with them.
Look, what I'm trying to say, though, right? I expect the Eagles to come into this game with a very balanced offense, both pass and run. I feel like we're looking at, for the Eagles, two top receivers, looking at 15 to 20 points. For Dallas Goedert, we're looking at around 13 points. And for Miles Sanders, I can see him getting right around this 14-point mark. I think, the offensive line has the ability to give him space where he can run and create points. He's always a red zone threat. At this point, he's become a way more consistent red zone threat than he ever has been for the past 2 years. This is the best red zone season he's had already since 2020. So he's a red zone threat. He can create some yards, get the gritty yards that you kind of need. Get those 5-yard gains. You don't really think about that much. I think Miles Sanders easily is going to be immense this week, along with the rest of the Eagles offense. But again, we'll talk about that later, because that's going to be my team of the week. Spoilers, but yeah. I mean, team of the week is the Eagles for me. I'm going to spoil it right now. That's my team of the week, and Miles Sanders will be a part of that.
Well, we'll get there when we get there, but I've got more to say.
I'm sure you do, and that's fine, and we can talk about that. But moving on to the segment that you thought we were doing this time, it's the over/under points. And to start it off, we have a guy who went off last week, a guy who really impressed a lot of owners, really putting himself in that RB1 conversation, which I never would have thought would have happened at this point in his career. I thought he was going to be an RB3 for the rest of his career. No, he's an RB1 right now. Josh Jacobs is going against the New Orleans Saints. We're talking about another Raider. He's projected 19.5 points. And keep in mind, we were high on Dameon Pierce last week, and we both said over. He didn't get there, but he still had a good game. So, Jack, your thoughts on Josh Jacobs, new RB1 winning running back of your fantasy league?
No, he has been a league winner this year. And Josh Jacobs, by the way, you said he went off last week. He went off the last 3 weeks. He has had 3 straight 30-plus point games, which you see the first one, you're like, it's Josh Jacobs, it's a fluke. You see the second one, you start to think a little bit. And when he gets to the third, you're like, this is legit. This is unbelievable. This is RB1 numbers. And this really feels like it's a breakout season for Josh Jacobs. Mm-hmm. And the Raiders have really been leaning into him ever since then, and it's been very successful for them. I see no reason for that to change. I'm taking the over on the insanely high 19.5 point projection. I think Josh Jacobs continues his tear.
The last time, again, I mentioned Dameon Pierce. Last time we both went over. Player disappointed a little bit.
Yep.
It's really hard to pass up 3 straight weeks of that production and say under. I have to agree with you and go the over. And this also plays into why we said bench for Darren Waller, because all those points that Waller would be able to produce, and this is also why Devontae Adams hasn't been, cream of the crop this year. It's been going to Josh Jacobs. All those plays are going to him. He's been insane these last couple of weeks. I don't think he's going to get 30 again because, New Orleans has a decent defensive line. But who knows? Why not? New Orleans, besides the defensive line, isn't good on defense. So I could easily see this being a 25-point game for Josh Jacobs. So I will also Go the over on this one.
Yeah, no, with his usage rate the last 3 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 30 again. I
Mhm.
mean, he's been getting 20 plus touches every game, and
Insane.
he's been producing on all 20. So,
Insane.
yeah, you gotta stick with the over there.
It's just absolutely insane. Next, we're going to talk about a struggling quarterback this year. We're going to be talking about one Aaron Rodgers. Last week we had a clip where I said that he was crazy with a certain word that I wasn't supposed to say. It's on me, but good clip, I think. But
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is going against the Buffalo Bills and will likely be eaten alive, in my opinion. He is projected 13.5 points. Jack, do you think he hit 13.5 or he stays under it?
I mean, first of all, it's so weird to see 13.5 next to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we're
Mhm.
talking about the back-to-back reigning NFL MVP right
I
here.
am so used to that
but-
number being 19.5.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
mean,
used to it.
you look at this and you're like, are you serious? 13 and a half? It's just weird. But he is playing a really good defense in the Buffalo Bills, and he has
Yeah.
not been great this year. I am tempted to take the under, which is really wild because it's 13 and a half points. And if he gets 13 and a half, you still don't think he has a good week because it's Aaron Rodgers.
Mhm.
But I kind of think he's going to get the under. It's a tough
Mhm.
matchup, a really good secondary, and he has no receivers that can catch the ball. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna take the under. It's tough because it's Aaron Rodgers, and you never know, he could always explode. But against that secondary, I'm gonna cautiously take
Yeah.
the under.
I do not get why this was such a difficult decision for you. This is the most obvious under we have put on this show ever. Aaron Rodgers is going to be eaten alive by the Buffalo secondary. The Buffalo secondary is a top two, besides the Eagles. They're top two. I don't know if they're better or worse right now, but they're a top two secondary in this league right now. And Aaron Rodgers has like two good weapons, and one of them's a running back. So
They're both.
I do not see him doing well as soon as Aaron Rodgers throws the ball more than 5 yards. I don't think it goes well for him. I think he's going to put up 6 points this week. He's going to throw 2 picks this week. I think this is going to be a horrible week to be an Aaron Rodgers owner. Absolutely hammer the under. He has been horrible this season. He has looked horrible, on and off the field as a teammate. So I don't like him. The only person who's looked like a worse teammate off the field is Russell Wilson. And
Tom Brady's up there too.
Tom Brady's up there too. well, Tom Brady's in his head about Giselle. Russell Wilson has become the corniest man alive. And Aaron Rodgers is, too deep in his conspiracy theories about the Packers to be willing to change anything.
Or in your words, not mine, off his effing rocker.
Yeah, exactly. He is, and I will stand by that. Even though I let the I can't even get the words together because he drives me crazy, almost as crazy as David gets about Russell Wilson.
Yep.
So this is the easiest under I've ever done on this show. Probably the easiest under we've ever done in the history of the show, in my opinion. So easy under.
I wouldn't say it's so easy because it is Aaron Rodgers.
It's clear cut. No, it's clear cut.
No,
it really is.
In his career, he's had a history of playing up to his opposition. I mean, he plays well when under big lights, except for when he plays the 49ers in the playoffs. But other than that, he steps up, and against a good defense, he could rise to the challenge. But I'm gonna agree with you here. I am gonna take the under just because, God, he has no one to throw the ball to.
Mm-hmm. Quite simply, the Packers suck.
Quite simply, yes.
And this is the most they have sucked in the Rodgers era. Like, there have been losing seasons. There have been seasons where he's been injured, but this is the one that I have the least hope about.
His weapons have never been this bad.
Yeah, never. He's always had a Jordy Nelson, a good Randall Cobb, or a Devontae Adams. He doesn't have any of those. It's not looking good. But moving on, back to back, we actually have two running backs who are both affected by the recent James Robinson deal. As we all know, James Robinson was traded to the New York Jets to replace the now injured Breece Hall. So we'll see. I mean, that's something going to be a whole story to watch with how Breece Hall comes back and how it affects that locker room. But first, we are starting with the de facto RB1 until James Robinson is ready to play in New York. we have Michael Carter, and they're going against New England this week. Michael Carter is projected more than James Robinson, even though they're saying that James Robinson will likely play. So Michael Carter projected 13.5 points, same as Aaron Rodgers, actually. Jack, what are your thoughts?
This one's actually pretty easy for me. Out of all these guys on the list, it's the easiest one, and I think it's a surefire under. I think that first of all, the New England defense has been very stout this season against the run, and that alone might
be insane.
Yeah, no, that alone might be reason enough to take the under on Michael Carter. But I also think James Robinson's going to play more than you expect. He's had a full week of practice. This trade happened basically during Monday Night Football, or right before Monday Night Football this week. He's going to have pretty much 3 to 4 days of practice to learn the playbook. And sure, maybe for this week, we see Michael Carter get more carries than James Robinson. But I think James Robinson is going to see the field, and he'll probably get some good goal line work also, which will take some value away from Carter. I think that this is a really easy under because of the Patriots defense, not to mention that James Robinson is also going to be in the building.
Look, I'm literally starting Michael Carter this week just because of like bye weeks and everything, how it worked out. I'm starting him in a league as my RB2 this week. But I have to agree that's going to be an under. But when I say under, I mean like a 10-point game, not like an Aaron Rodgers 6-point game, which is going to happen. Michael Carter, he's familiar with the system with the Jets. He's going to get plenty of touches. James Robinson might get those goal line stands, just kind of like how the Niners tried to use CMC, in his first game. So I could see this being a okay game from Michael Carter. Again, feeling around 10 points for him just because he'll get enough touches. The production will be there, but I don't know if he's going to be able to score to make it, really worth your while. This is an under, but not like a definitive one. I can see it going either way, but if it is an over, it's not going to be higher than 15 points. Let's just be realistic. So under, optimistically under, like it's probably going to be an under, but he's more familiar. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then to finish off our over under, we have Travis Etienne, now the clear-cut running back 1 in Jacksonville. They'll be playing in London against the Broncos this Sunday, projected 14.7 points. Jack, what do you think here?
Well, first of all, for starters, the Jaguars playing in London get a better home field advantage than they do in Jacksonville.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Those, I don't know what it is, but those British people, those people in the Londoners love the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that bodes well for them to begin with. But Travis Etienne might be an RB1 the rest of the season for fantasy. This is the opportunity that we have all been waiting for Travis Etienne since his rookie season. We had James Robinson like last season. He got way more of the carry than we expected. We thought Travis Etienne would take over as that RB1 at some point. Never happened. This season, they sort of had a bit of a time split. Etienne's looked better, but Robinson was still there. This is full go for Travis Etienne, and I think he takes it and runs with it. He's got all the opportunity in the world. He's going to get a lot of carries. He's going to get a lot of receiving work out of the backfield. I just completely forgot that Travis Etienne missed his rookie year. I don't know what I was talking about with last season. But either way, I think this is the time that we see Travis Etienne run away with this backfield. I think he's going to look awesome. I think it's an easy over.
Oh, I completely agree with you on this one. I'm looking for a 20-point game here with Travis Etienne. They pretty much have home field advantage in London. The Broncos have one good pass rusher, Bradley Chubb, and he might be out before the game even starts. Who knows at this point? Because everyone's being traded right now. If Robert Quinn's being traded, Bradley Chubb could be traded.
That's a hot take, but you never know.
Look, you never know. You never know. You never know what teams are calling. But what I'm saying is they have one really good pass rusher, and that's about it on that Broncos defense. It has not been that impressive, especially against a running back. So I see this being an easy 20-point game for Travis Etienne, really establishing that, I am the guy here. I am going to be the running back, the number one running back here for the next 2-3 years, like for sure. This is going to be like a breaking out party, I think. This is going to be easy over for Travis Etienne.
And by the way, if you're a fantasy manager, I'd go out there and try to trade for Travis Etienne.
Absolutely.
Now. Go make that trade before he has this game this week, because I think he cements himself as an RB1 this week. Make that trade now while you can.
Yeah, but moving on to our final section, team of the week. I already said my team of the week, so would you like me to start and roast your
No, yeah,
Steelers?
go for it. Go for it.
You want me to go on your Steelers?
I do. All you.
All right. All right. Well, Philadelphia Eagles are my team of the week. My hometown Eagles, born and raised, always been a fan. They are fresh from a bye, and they are going to be facing a struggling Steelers team who continues to start Kenny Pickett because they pretty much have no other choice at this point. Talking about a bad quarterback and a worse quarterback, you decided which is which.
Hey,
Both
don't call Kenny bad. Don't come at my boy Kenny.
who said it? Who said it was Kenny? I was calling bad. I'm not revealing which is which. But Kenny Pickett, we talked a little bit before the show. He is a turnover machine. Even though PFF says he's only had 3 turnover-worthy plays, he's had 7 turnovers in 5 games, 4 starts, and he's playing the team with the best turnover differential in the league. If you have the Eagles defense, you are probably on top of the moon. You are super excited for this week coming up because they get to face Kenny Pickett. Darius Slay and James Bradbury get to face Kenny Pickett. Oh, man, I am excited. And speaking of excitement, though, this Eagles offense continues to be exciting with the big 4 of Hurts, Brown, Smith, Goddard. Expect all of them to have pretty solid to great games. Don't expect one of them to be like a league winner this week. Don't expect like a 30-point game. Expect all of them. Expect Hurts to get like 20 to 25. As I mentioned earlier, expect A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith to get around that 14 to 7 mark. Nothing crazy, but good numbers for what they're doing. Dallas Goedert, expect around 13-ish points. And then Miles Sanders, like we mentioned earlier, expect around that 14-point mark, right where he's projected. All of them should have good games, and I fully expect the Philadelphia Eagles to fly high over the lowly Steelers to 7-0.
Look, if I wasn't a Steelers fan, I might have picked the Eagles also.
Yeah,
I might have done it, but
and that's fair. And that's fair.
My only defense, I'm not going to defend the Steelers, but I'm going to defend my boy Kenny. 3 turnover-worthy plays. He is better than you think, but you are right. He is turning the ball over at an alarming rate. So at some point, you have to question a little bit. Yep. But I'm defending my boy Kenny to the grave.
Look, that's okay. He's a first-round pick. I understand why you're defending him. Look, I defended Carson Wentz, and I turned out wrong. And now someday you'll turn out wrong with Kenny Pickett. So it'll be okay. It'll be okay, and you'll realize the error of your ways. It's all good.
I never had to experience this as a fan, though. So you got to give me that break.
That's true. This is the first time that you've had a different quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger. This is the first time you've experienced a new person under center since before you were born. So,
literally,
welcome to having a normal NFL team. Glad to have you here. For once, your team is not going to have a winning record, and finally,
don't put it past Mike Tomlin. Don't put it past Mike Tomlin.
God, you Steelers fans really think you can still get a winning record out of this season?
I'm not looking for a winning record.
You guys are hilarious.
I'm looking for 8-8-1 with a classic Steelers tie. Maybe this is the week.
They're not tying this week. They're not winning this week. It's
a tie. Book it.
All right.
If the Steelers and Eagles tie this week, give me $100. Call me a genius. I mean, just watch it happen.
You think I have $100 on a college budget?
Fair enough.
Exactly. Fair enough. All right. Who is your team of the week?
My team of the week is going to take advantage of the poor Detroit Lions, a team that I had so much belief in coming into the season. That has been so unfortunately horrible, and that is the Miami Dolphins. The Lions they're going into the Lions' den, no pun intended. I mean, the Miami Dolphins. I mean, with Herbert and Mahomes on a bye this week, Tua is just a great option against the lowly Lions defense. He'll light him up. I think Raheem Mostert is a very good option this week if you're an Austin Eckler owner. Mostert, I forgot to check out what his availability is on wires, but he should be rostered in a lot of leagues at this point. And if he's on your roster, he's a great bye-week replacement. Tyreek Hill is going to go off. Jalen Waddle, you know what to expect from those guys at this point. Mike Gesicki is a bit of a sleeper at tight end. I think he's had a couple of good games recently. And I mean, aside from his disgusting gritty, everything else that he's done has looked pretty solid. I I think that
What do you mean?
Dolphins, they have.
It's the best gritty in the league, man. I love his gritty.
I've never seen a guy look more like a robot doing the gritty than Mike Gesicki. But
Top 2
except for
gritty,
maybe
and it's not number
except for
2.
maybe Adam Schefter. I mean, that was really something
Oh my
else.
god.
But all things considered, I think the Dolphins just have a great matchup this week. They have an opportunity to go off against the lowly Detroit Lions, and you should be getting all those guys in your lineup if you can.
Yeah, man, we really fell for the Hard Knocks hype, man. We really fell for it. And
But who
like,
didn't?
and I remember like after week 1, I was like, yeah, the Lions lost against my Eagles, but they looked really good doing it. I was like, the defense might not be there, but that offense has potential. And then nothing's gone right for them, and their defense continues to be the worst in the NFL. So it sucks.
Yeah, no, I mean, what we didn't realize is that like that defense couldn't stop a thing. That like we thought that was the Eagles being good. No, that's the Lions. They are the worst defense I've ever seen in my life.
No, and it sucks because they have players that have shown talent. Okuda's having his best season. Hutchinson's looked all right. And Rodrigo has looked good too.
Oh, I love Rodrigo.
Everyone loves Rodrigo. If you watch Hard Knocks, you love Rodrigo. But what I'm saying is, outside of those players, who's really done anything for the Lions?
Yep.
Not really anyone. And it really sucks to see. But I'm with you with those Dolphins. If it wasn't the Eagles, I would have definitely considered them. Definitely have a really good matchup. And Tua, when healthy, undefeated.
Yeah. And he's been great this year.
Oh, yeah, he has. I hope he keeps it up, honestly, for the sake of his freaking head at this point.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, but that is all from us this week. We will see you guys on Monday with the rest of the Pass the Rock crew, and we're looking forward to speaking with you guys